Amora crouched deep inside the thick bushes, frozen by fear and horror. Her legs trembled violently and her heart pounded as though it would burst out of her chest. Though the night was cold, beads of sweat streamed down her forehead. Confusion clouded her mind. She didn't know whether to scream, run, or stay hidden. From where she hid, Amora watched in disbelief as Elder Cato and Bocco, the village butcher, stood over the lifeless body of Nero, her best friend and first love. Nero lay helplessly on the ground with a knife buried deep in his stomach. His face was turned toward the bush where Amora hid, his eyes wide open. Tears slowly rolled from them. He tried to call out to her, to beg for help, but his lips would not move. Amora shifted her gaze away from Nero and focused on the two men, who were arguing in low voices. "If we throw him into the river like this, his body will float after a few days," Bocco said nervously. "People will know he was murdered." "Yes," Elder Cato replied coldly. "But if we tie him to a large stone, his body will never resurface. No one will ever find him. This must remain our secret, a secret we will take to our graves." Amora watched helplessly as they lifted Nero's body, tied it firmly to a massive stone, and placed it in a canoe. They paddled toward the deepest part of River Luma. When they were far enough from the shore, they pushed his body into the water and watched it sink slowly into darkness. That was Amora's chance. She ran. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her to her father's house in Ogona village. By the time she arrived, she was gasping for air. Her father sat outside the compound, reading a newspaper and listening to music from a small radio. Her stepmother stood nearby, pounding yams for dinner. "Where have you been, you stubborn girl?" her stepmother barked. "Come and pound this yam properly so I can finish cooking." Amora obeyed, but her hands shook badly. The horrifying scene by the river replayed endlessly in her mind. Angered by her weak pounding, her stepmother slapped her hard. "If you don't pound well, you'll go to bed hungry tonight. You useless child." Terrified, Amora forced herself to continue. Suddenly, she heard familiar voices. Elder Cato and Bocco had entered the compound. Fear washed over her again. What if they saw me at the river? She thought. "Amora," Elder Cato said gently, patting her back. He was a respected teacher at the community school, and a close friend of her father. "Be a good and obedient daughter." Bocco, a butcher who often helped her father sell meat at the market, nodded silently. They joined Amora's father to talk. Amora sighed with relief, though a troubling thought crossed her mind. Could my father know what they did? The next day at school, Amora sat alone. Nero had always sat beside her. During assembly, Elder Cato announced, "Nero ran away from home yesterday morning and has not returned. His mother is worried. If anyone knows where he is, report immediately." Amora's heart shattered. As she returned to class, she saw Madam F., Nero's mother, crying outside the headmaster's office. Madam F. was once married to one of the richest men in Ogona village, but after his mysterious death, Nero became the sole heir. Elder Cato, his uncle, had once tried to marry her to gain control of the wealth, but she refused. That refusal had sealed her son's fate. Proprio com Jamie, drop your comment which country are watching my photo story from. Unable to carry the burden alone, Amora decided to tell Madam F the truth. She sneaked to her compound that evening, but found many people there, including Elder Cato and Bocco. When Madam F saw Amora, she grabbed her clothes and cried bitterly. "You were his best friend. Where is my son? Tell me." The women pulled Madam F away and shouted at Amora to leave. Broken and helpless, Amora returned home in tears. Her mother had died giving birth to her. Her father blamed her for it and allowed her stepmother to maltreat her. Nero was her only friend. She considered going to the police, but feared no one would believe a child. Amora's class teacher, Mrs. Sommer, noticed a sudden decline in school performance. After Amora scored just 1 mark out of 20, Mrs. Sommer kept her back after school. "What is wrong, my child?" she asked gently. "You can trust me." Amora broke down and confessed everything. That night at the river. The knife. The stone. The secret. Mrs. Sommer believed her. The next day, Mrs. Sommer overheard Elder Cato and Boko discussing how to kill Madam F next and inherit everything. She secretly recorded their conversation and reported it to Chief Adoro, the ruler of Ogona village. The chief summoned everyone. Amora testified bravely. Though the men denied it, fishermen were sent to the river. Nero's body was recovered. Elder Cato and Boko confessed to murdering both father and son for wealth. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. Amora was rewarded with a full scholarship and adopted by the chief as his daughter. Moral lessons. Greed can drive people to commit terrible crimes. Always listen to children, the truth can come from the smallest voice. True courage is standing up for what is right, even when afraid. Be careful who you trust, not everyone who smiles means well. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel.